Hi, 7th grade. Welcome to week 2, day 2, March 31st. So it's Tuesday. You're going to log into your Google Classroom. You're going to complete your attendance for the day. Then you're going to go to your student-friendly lesson. There's a link here for your warm-up. And it kind of just takes you through everything that you're learning within this lesson. So you can look at that. Here's our lesson. So it says that we're going to make and develop inferences from random samples by using a dot plot. This is actually incorrect. This is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So a little heads up for what's coming tomorrow. But today we're going to just be focusing on central tendency. So if you print the lesson, then you're going to work on this on the paper. If not, I suggest copying this chart like I did here so that you have a nice reference for what the measures of central tendency are and how you solve them. Okay, so I'm going to take you through each of them. So the measures of central tendency are going to be mean, median, mode, and range. So some of these words I hope that you've already heard of, but I'm going to go through them one by one just so that we remember what they mean and how we go about solving them. Okay, so the mean is sometimes also called the average. And the definition of mean is the sum of all the numbers in the data divided by the total amount of the numbers. So you add all numbers and divide by amount of numbers. Okay, so we're given an example where we have this set of numbers. So if I was asked to find the mean, or sometimes also known as the average, we're going to add up all the numbers first. So I'll write that here. 1 plus 3 plus 7 plus 2 plus 2 plus 8 plus 3 plus 6 plus 5. And we would get that sum, which equals 37. Okay, I then take that sum and you're going to divide it by the amount of numbers you just added. So you count. How many numbers did we just add? We added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers total. So again, we added up all the numbers and now we're dividing by the amount of numbers that we just added. And when we divide these two numbers, we're going to get 4.1 repeating. And usually they're going to say, you know, round to the nearest tenth or something like that. So this answer would simply be 4.1 for our mean or our average. Okay, so again, mean is when you add up all the numbers and then divide by the amount of numbers that are in the data. So we added them all up, we got 37. We then divided by 9 because that's how many numbers were in our data. We got 4.1 repeating, so we just rounded that to 4.1. So again, the mean or the average would be 4.1. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is the median. Oh my God, I'm trying to get this other marker open. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry. So the median. The median is found when you order the numbers from least to greatest, and then it's going to be the number that's in the middle. Okay, so your definition, order from least to greatest and find the middle. okay? So the only other thing that sometimes happens is that when you order them from least to greatest, sometimes there's not a middle number. Sometimes there's two numbers left. In that case, what you would have to do is then find the mean of those two numbers. So that's what we just did. Okay, so we'll do an example of that before I finish this video, but just wanted to mention that because sometimes it happens. So we're going to order our numbers from least to greatest and then find that middle number. So let's see, my smallest number is going to be 1. The next smallest number, I got 2 2s, so I'm going to list those. The next, I have 2 3s. Don't have any 4s, but I do have a 5, followed by 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so when we look for our middle number, I usually like to cross out one from the lower corner, one from the lower part, one from the higher part. So for example, I cross out 1, I cross out 8. This isn't a good marker to use after all that. Cross out 1, I cross out 8. Okay, and then I keep doing that until I get to my middle. 2 and 7, 2 and 6, 3 and 5, and then watch, now we're left with our middle number. So the median of this data would be 3. So for the median, you're going to order your numbers from least to greatest and then find the middle number. You can use that little like slash method I just showed you to find that middle. If there were two numbers left in the middle, then you would find the average of those two numbers, the mean of those two numbers. So you would add them up and divide by 2. That would then be your median. Okay? Okay, moving on. So mode is going to be the most frequently used number in the data set. There can sometimes be no mode, and then there could also sometimes be more than one mode. So mode is going to be most frequently used in the data. And what I usually remember is mode starts with MO, and so does most. So if I keep that in mind, it helps me remember that mode is the most frequently used number in the data. Okay? So I'm just going to list my data like we had at the top. 1, 3, 7, 2, 2, 8, 3, 6, 5. And I look to see which number is used the most. So I notice that there's 2 3s in my data, but there's also 2 2s. So that just means we have 2 modes because the most frequently used is 2 and 3. And they're used the most frequent equal amount. So our mode would be 2 and 3. If 3 had, like, let's say 4 of them, then the mode would just be 3. But since 2 also has 2 of them, then we say that there are 2 modes, and those 2 modes are 2 and 3. Okay, so again, it's the most frequently used number in the data. You can have more than one mode. You could have only one mode. You could have no mode. Okay, but it's the number that you see the most in your data. And then the range is going to be the difference between the largest number minus the smallest number. Okay, so range is figuring out that span of your data. So you find your largest number and you subtract it by your smallest number. And that's going to tell you your range. So if I look at my data, my largest number is 8. I'm going to subtract that by 1 since that's my smallest, and we get a difference of 7. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through all of them one more time. So we figured out mean. Mean's going to be your average when you add up all the numbers and divide by the amount of numbers. That's what we did here. We added them all up. We got 37. We divided by 9 because there were 9 numbers in the set. And we rounded our answer to 4.1. For median, it's going to be when you order your numbers from least to greatest and find the middle number. So we ordered our numbers from least to greatest. We did our slash method until we found our middle, which was 3. Okay? Mode is going to be the most frequently used number in the data. So we wrote our data out and we saw that 3 was used twice and so was 2. So in this sample we have 2 modes. It's going to be a mode of 2 and 3. And then range is when you subtract your largest number minus your smallest. So in our data, our largest was 8 minus our smallest, which was 1, to give us a range of 7. Okay, so that's pretty much all our lesson is about today. I just want to show you an example of finding that median when you have 2 numbers in the middle, just so that you know what to do in case it comes up. So we'll do 1, 2, okay, so here's my data. I just made it up, okay, and we're going to find the median. So remember, that's your middle number. So I like to do that slash method when I slash one number from my bottom half, one number from my top half. And then I keep going. One number from the bottom half, one number from the top half. One number from the bottom half, one number from the top half. Now, when I go to do it again, if I slash them both out, I got nothing left. So here, in this case, we have to now find what number is in between 3 and 4. And the way you can do that is by finding the mean of those 2 numbers. So when we find our mean, what you do is you add the numbers first. So 3 plus 4 is 7. And then you take that sum and you divide it by the amount of numbers that you added. So the amount of numbers we added this time was 2. So our quotient will now be our median, which would be 3.5. And that makes sense because we were looking for what number is in between 3 and 4. 3.5 would absolutely be the midpoint between 3 and 4. So that makes perfect sense to go along with what we were just talking about. Okay, and this again was finding the median. Just as another example, in case your median winds up not being just a single number, what to do to figure that out if you're left with 2. All right, so the rest of the lesson just gives you some more examples to practice finding those central tendencies. There's a you do, a we do, and then there's an extra practice activity, okay? Again, the lesson is saying that it's due by 3 p.m., but it is not. We changed all assignments to be due at 11:59. So if you have trouble, completing it before the end of the school day, it's okay because everything isn't due until 11:59. 11:59 p.m., I should say. So remember, there's this link here if you need it for extra support. There's this poster that we found, kind of just gives you like all the steps for central tendency that I just took you through. So you also have them. They're kind of like our co-construct steps that we make in class. So I thought that might be helpful for you. And then this is your answer key lesson to check your work from the lesson that I just went over with you. And then this is the extra practice. So again, this is a PDF, so there are multiple options to submit this. It's one of those worksheets where you're going to answer the questions. I'm going to pull it up actually so you remember. We've done these in class. You answer the question and then you shade in like which one your answer is. So let's say your first answer was 439, right? So anywhere you see 1, since it was question 1, if this was your answer, you're going to color all the ones orange. So there's a sheet that goes with this where you color in the numbers according to your answer. Okay, so there are a total of 10 questions, and then the second sheet is the coloring sheet. So I know, like I said, we've done these in class before, especially during strategic math. Now, I'm aware that some of you do not have printers at home, which is okay. If you cannot print this for whatever reason, then what you can do is just answer the questions on loose leaf, show your work for all 10 questions, and you can take a picture of that and send that in for your classwork, okay? If you wanted to like recreate this, even if you can't print it, I mean, it's a pretty simple design. If you wanted to do that and color it just for a little bit, maybe a little more fun of an activity, you can absolutely do that too. But if you can print this, it's okay. The classwork is really what we're looking for, the math that you're doing behind this activity. So if you can only do the work on loose leaf, that's fine. Just take a picture of it and upload it to the assignment today, okay? I just want to take note that it says here for questions 1 through 4, here's the data you're using. It's about the heights of basketball players. And then for questions 5 through 8, it's the most recent test scores, and they're all listed right here. Okay, again, if you have any issues with this assignment, uploading it, downloading it, whatever the case may be, remember that we're available during your normal schedule at this point. So if you have your math teacher period 3, then just know that they'll be around on your classroom to answer any of your questions or help you out with any of your concerns. My class, I know some of you have found it easier just to text me a picture of your work, which is perfectly fine. You can also send it to my Instagram account. Some of you have also been private messaging me that as well. I will take anything. I know that times are tough right now, so it's perfectly fine. However you can get that work submitted is good by me, okay? And then the last thing is just your homework, which is normal. You're going to complete your form, click submit, and that's what you have for today. Okay? I hope this helped, and I will talk to you guys more tomorrow. See ya.